This week on the High Limit Room, we chat with Sunshine Tyler Courtney. We take a look back to the weekend of racing in central Pennsylvania, and also we look ahead as to what's coming up on FloRacing. All right, welcome back to the High Limit Room. My name is Chase Rodman, the announcer for the series. Later on in the show, we will be joined by pit reporter with the series, Tony Laporta, as well as full-time driver Tyler Courtney. Now, before we get to Sunshine, I want to talk about a couple of things that have happened here over the last week or so in the world of sprint car racing. First off, we do want to update you on what is going on with High Limit. It's been a few weeks since the series was last in action. Of course, that was at the Central Arizona Raceway. Had a couple of rainouts, a couple of windouts, and now we get back underway next week on the 30th of April for the first race of the Roto-Rooter Midweek Series, and it's also going to be race number 7 overall in 2025 for High Limit Racing. Just to kind of catch you up briefly here, the current points leader with the series is Brad Sweet. He has 2 wins on the year, 47-point lead over Tyler Courtney, 77-point lead over Aaron Reitzel, who also has 2 wins on the year. Brent Marks is 82 points behind, and Rico Abreu 92 points behind. That's the top 5 in the High Limit Racing point standings when we get back underway next week on the 30th of April at Texarkana 67 Speedway in Arkansas. Now, over the weekend, there was a lot of racing going on between the Outlaws, between Central Pennsylvania, and all kinds of other stuff as well. A little bit of news coming out here as well today, and that is, of course, Shark Racing. We found out a few weeks ago that Jacob Allen was going to retire from driving. He was going to kind of more go into a crew chiefing role on the car, and it was announced a few days later that they were going to hire Cale Thomas as the driver of the number 1A for Shark Racing. They ran 3 races. They ran at Baps Motor Speedway, they ran at Lincoln, and they ran at Williams Grove. Those 2 races at Lincoln and the Grove were this weekend on Friday and Saturday. In those 2 events, Cale Thomas did get in a couple of crashes. He ended up outside the top 20 in both of those ones. Did qualify well, did run well in the heat race, ran top 10 at the first race at Baps, but unfortunately, there was nothing that he could do. It sounds like with those 2 crashes, he has been let go by the team after just 3 races in the car. And so Cale Thomas, after getting an incredible opportunity with the team, is no more. He's not going to be driving for the 1A. And now we will wait and see who the new driver will be of that Triple X chassis. Also did want to mention Danny Dietrich. What an incredible act of heroism he had over there at Williams Grove after the wreck for Cale Thomas down the backstretch at Williams Grove Speedway. Dietrich saw a fire under the car, got out of the car and helped pull Cale Thomas out after a scary incident where he clipped the barrels on the back straightaway opening there at Williams Grove. So kudos to Danny Dietrich for jumping out of the car and helping out a fellow competitor. Now, also happening, we mentioned Lincoln Speedway, one of the places that Cale Thomas raced and crashed at over there. During that main event, it was Anthony Macri who absolutely destroyed the field there at the Weldon Sterner Memorial for $10,000 to win that one. I believe that was the first win of the year for Macri, kind of off to a slower start than what we're used to seeing for him. But also in the same weekend, he got an $8,000 win at the Williams Grove Speedway, and he also on the same night won the makeup feature there as well. So it was a huge weekend, over $20,000 in prize money won by Anthony Macri between Williams Grove and Lincoln Speedway. So congrats to Macri on getting 3 wins in one weekend. The other drama that happened over there in Central PA took place at the Port Royal Speedway after a crazy battle for the race lead between Justin Whittle and Logan Wagner. It seemed like for about 3 laps in a row, they were swapping the lead each and every corner. Port Royal, the Speed Palace, was in perfect shape for sliders, perfect shape for 2 lanes of racing, and going down the front straightaway, it's hard to kind of tell from the camera angle, but almost looks like Justin Whittle goes to the bottom or tries to go to the bottom in turn 1 to block any type of maneuver from Logan Wagner. They get together, they both crash into the corner. Nobody goes upside down, but Whittle gets out of his car. He's not happy with Logan Wagner. Logan Wagner's not happy with Justin Whittle, and they both take themselves out of contention for the win there over at Port Royal, and in the process allowing Mike Walter to come out and get his first ever win at the Port Royal Speedway. And so one thing bad happens to two front runners, but a good thing happens to a guy that has been there for a long time at Port Royal Speedway. One of the best guys in the pit area, Mike Walter. Congrats to him on getting the win over at Port Royal Speedway. And so just crazy stuff going on over there at the Speed Palace. Sometimes, you get two guys battling hard for the lead like that. You're going to have some incidents happen throughout the way. Now, we do want to also talk about what is coming up here on FloRacing this week. It is a very, very busy week on Flo when it comes to the racing on the service. We'll first start things off with NARC After Dark, as everybody has dubbed it now. They will be at the Thunderbolt Raceway in Tulare, California for the Chris and Brian Faria Memorial. That will be their third race of the 2025 season. DJ Neto is the current points leader with the series, and that race will take place on Saturday night, April 26th. Now, also racing this weekend, after having their first two races rained out earlier on this season, the All-Star Circuit of Champions are going to try again. Their season opener will take place this weekend at the Fremont Speedway in Ohio. That, of course, will also take place on Saturday night as well. All of the NARC races, all of the All-Star races are all going to be live on FloRacing. So the All-Stars have a really good field of cars, and you can expect a really solid field of non-full-timers showing up to Fremont as well on Saturday night. Also taking place this weekend, it is the first race of the year for the USAC National Midget Series. They will be at Kokomo Speedway for the Kokomo Grand Prix, one of my favorite races all season long with the midgets. That will be on Friday and Saturday night at Indiana's baddest bull ring, the Kokomo Speedway. So keep your eye on that one. They've got a solid field of full-timers once again this year in the USAC Midget Series, and you can expect to see some hair-raising action because that's what that place delivers, especially when it comes to the midget side of things. Also taking place this weekend, it's going to be the Keith Kaufman Classic at the Port Royal Speedway, and we just talked about it a moment ago. The battle between Wagner and Whittle. You're going to be getting a lot of really, really good cars showing up for this one. It is $15,000 to win on Saturday night. Once again, that is April 26th. You can expect to see the likes of more than likely Anthony Macri, Danny Dietrich, Lance DeWeese joining guys like Justin Whittle and Logan Wagner. Mike Walter, of course, last week's winner, and the 69K more than likely driven by Ryan Smith. So it's going to be a great field of cars for the Keith Kaufman Classic at Port Royal. If you cannot make it there, once again, that is all live on FloRacing. Now, the other series that is debuting this weekend, this is three series that are debuting this weekend. The USAC Midgets, the All-Stars, and the IRA Sprint cars are going to be racing at the Beaver Dam Raceway in Wisconsin. And get this, I don't know if you've seen this or not, folks, but a 20-car lineup, full-time 20 of them, running this year with the IRA Sprint cars. Most of these races taking place, obviously, in the Wisconsin area, but they do branch out a little bit here and there. But 20 full-timers. If you did not see the list, here are the drivers you can expect to be seeing racing with this series each and every night live on FloRacing. Jake Blackhurst, Scotty Neitzel, Jake Newman, Danny Schlafer, Jordan Goldsberry, Chris Spitz, Kyle Schuett, Dave Utek, Matt Vanderveer, Travis Ahrens, Austin Hartman, Logan Julian, Will Garrett, Tyler Brabant, and they've also got a couple of Rookie of the Year contenders as well. Max Guilford, Logan Wanke, Corbin Gurley, Alex Pekorski, TJ Hattie, and Tommy Colburn. That is a mouthful right there. 20 full-time contenders this year with the IRA, and it's hard to maybe try and pick a guy who's going to win the championship with this series this year. Of course, last year's champion, Scotty Thiel, not in that list that I just mentioned there, so more than likely going to have a new champion here in 2025, and there are 20 drivers vying for it this season. Now, the final thing we want to talk about before we get into our interview section of the High Limit Room is a little bit of a recap from the Knoxville Raceway. Of course, the World of Outlaws were in town for their first stop of the season at Knoxville. It was also the very first race of the year at the Knoxville Raceway, and a couple of the full-time drivers with High Limit Racing really showed out in this one, including Rico Abreu, got his first ever World of Outlaws win at the Knoxville Raceway. We've seen him win the Capitani Classic in the past. We've seen him win prelim nights at the Knoxville Nationals, but has never won an Outlaw show there. And Rico goes in there, holds off co-owner of High Limit Racing's Kyle Larson, who ends up in second. The High Limit, line of drivers there broken up in the middle by Logan Schuhart, who ended up in the third spot, but then two more high rollers in the top five with Tyler Courtney and Aaron Reitzel. Reitzel did lead a couple of laps of the main event. Tyler Courtney was mixing it up inside the podium positions the entire way. And then also we can't count out Brad Sweet, who ended up in the ninth position as well. Spencer Baston, he ended up with a top 15 there, run there as well, over a 63 car field there at the sprint car capital of the world. So congrats to the high rollers on going in there and showing the Outlaw guys that they have what it takes to, contend with them at one of the biggest racetracks, the best racetracks in the entire country. Congrats to Rico. Congrats to Tyler, Courtney, Aaron Reitzel, all with top 5 runs there. Full-time high limit racing drivers doing a great job against the Outlaws at the Knoxville Raceway. Now, we mentioned Tyler Courtney. He ended up 4th in that main event. He's currently 2nd in the high limit racing point standings, 47 behind Brad Sweet. He stopped in to join us here on the High Limit Room this week. All right, we're now joined by Tony Laporta, pit reporter for High Limit Racing, as well as 2nd in current series point standings. That is, of course, Tyler Courtney. Tyler, thanks for joining us on the High Limit Room this week. Coming off a really solid weekend over there at Knoxville Raceway. 4th place run for you guys. A really good weekend overall for High Limit. 1st, 4th, 5th, and I don't know what you want to consider. Kyle Larson ends up in 2nd there as well, but a really solid weekend for the high rollers and a good weekend for you as well.
Yeah, no, it was a great weekend. Obviously, it's been nice to get both nights in, but any laps you can get at Knoxville is just bonus for everything leading up to August for the biggest race of the year. So, but yeah, I was really happy with our performance. Went out and qualified good, and honestly felt like I left a little bit on the table there on my 2nd lap. So got a little bit of improving to do on my end on that. And then, got through the heat race, had a chance to win the heat race. And then, Emerson moved around and kind of took my air away and kind of ruined my chance to win the heat race. But either way, we got on the dash and had a good dash draw. And then, made a couple bad moves the first lap of the dash and lost a couple spots. And, but to start 4th and, fell back to 5th or 6th there at one point in the race and then, battled back to 4th by the end as, I felt was, really promising for how we, run at Knoxville. I felt like it was the best complete race we put together there for a couple years now. So just a really great weekend and, we'll build on that, like I said, to move forward and, hopefully, put our best effort forward for the Knoxville Nationals.
So, Tyler, when Chase just introduced you, he hit on the fact that you kind of come off the opening West Coast swing with Kubota High Limit sitting 2nd in points. You're 47 markers right now at the very, very early start of the season behind Brad Sweet. Ironically, I was just watching a replay of our race last year from Lawrenceburg this morning, and you were leading the championship points at that part of the season. You came into Lawrenceburg, I think, with 8 second-place finishes in a row. What are things that you guys learned last year as far as points racing against somebody like Brad Sweet, who's arguably the best to ever do sprint car year-long points racing, style racing? What are things that you picked up last year, or you at least are telling yourself, we can't do that again, we need to be better in this department? Did you learn anything about points racing you plan to apply or already applying this year in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, you learn a lot when you race against a guy like Brad for a championship. You find out pretty quick that you can't really even finish outside the top 10 or he's going to pounce all over that. And, because when you watch him, man, he doesn't really, if he's running worse than 6th, then that's a really bad night for him when it comes to, a season long, fair like that. So, just cleaning up those, like, even if we qualify bad, like, Bakersfield at Kern, we qualified terrible, but we were able to salvage at least a 6th place run that night. And, those are things you have to capitalize on when you do start out the night like that. You have to, be able to rebound and really put yourself in a position to minimize your loss those nights. And then the nights that you're really good, you got to capitalize on too. So, it's tough to race against a guy like Brad, who is gonna be at the front almost every night. And, you just got to try and put yourself in those same positions and, kind of let it all shake out by the end of the year. But yeah, then obviously for us, the West Coast is a big focal point for us now, to make sure we, don't go out there and, kind of have the same trip that we did last year. Just, started out okay at Tulare and Hanford. And then, one thing kind of snowballed into really all the way through Tuscarora 50 weekend. And, that month long stretch, you pretty much took yourself right out of contention for a championship. Then we were battling, for 2nd at that point. So just, a lot of things that, we looked at were, obviously the West Coast and then, just, making sure that every night is a good night. And obviously, you're not going to win every race, but you got to be consistent to beat a guy like Brad. And I feel like we've done that here to start. Obviously, we've been consistent, but Brad's been even more consistent. So, just feel like whenever we step it up, he does too. And, that's, one of the good things about battling with a 6-time champion like him. You get to push yourself to a new level that you didn't even know you had.
All right, so I wanted to kind of circle back a little bit here to Knoxville, and one of the most interesting storylines when you look on Facebook and you look on Twitter and all this stuff, right? It's always all the fans are all in on this, high limit versus the Outlaws thing, right? High limit, a couple guys ran at Peevely, 2 weeks ago, and things didn't go very well for them. Rico and Reitzel ran decent one night, and everybody's saying that, the Outlaws, they're dominant, blah, 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 right? And then we go to Knoxville, and there's a bunch of high limit guys in the top 10. There's only a couple Outlaw guys in the top 10 there. So what is your take on that? Do you get on Twitter and Facebook and read all these comments about, the back and forth between, the Outlaw drivers and the high limit drivers when you're talking about, with the race fans and stuff like that? Because that's one of my favorite things to do, is go on there and read what all these people are saying. It's no doubt the most entertaining portion of the weekend when we're not racing.
No, I don't really get into all that. So to say, but yeah, I mean, I think it's good for when we get to these types of races, and, you get to see where you stack up against, obviously we get to see where we stack up against the high limit guys all the time, but you don't get to race the Outlaw guys all the time. So being able to see where you stack up with, the rest of the best drivers in the country is, makes you feel good or feel bad by the end of the night. And obviously leaving this weekend, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot with our team and, with what we've built so far to come into this season with. But yeah, I think it's fun for the fans to kind of, pick a side or what have you, to, cheer for, the high limit guys or cheer for the Outlaw guys. And, but for myself, I don't really, compare it, one way or the other. I think, we show up at the racetrack the same either way. When we show up, we're trying to win the race, whether it, is under the high limit banner or under the Outlaw banner. You're trying to win every race you show up to. And, I would say that goes the same for most anyone that is racing at this level.
Well, Tyler, I'll tell you something. I'm going to give you a little bit of life advice here for free. I really think you should spend more time on the internet reading some of those comments and those debates, because there are some scholars on the Facebook, and it's not even message boards anymore these days. But yeah, spend some more time on Facebook and social media if you really want to lose faith in people. Hey, yeah. It's April 21st, late in the month here. It's almost May. And I always bring this up when talking to you because I think it's such a cool backstory, and I don't know how many people know it about you. The month of May, where you're from and where I live now, Indianapolis, is a huge deal. You've been a part of the Indy 500 on the competition side several times, not in the driver's seat. You've been up on the roof. You've spotted several Indy 500s, I believe, if memory serves correctly. What have those experiences been like? And from a young age to even now, have you ever had aspirations of going that route and trying to race something like IndyCar, something like the 500? Has that ever kind of been a goal of yours?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially, being a kid growing up in Indianapolis, I think you don't even have to be from there to realize that the Indy 500 is one of, if not the biggest race of the season, across all of motorsports. And, so yeah, I always had aspirations, and, I guess still do to race Indy 500. I think it's, one of the greatest races of all time. And just, it was, great for me to get to be a part of it. Even if it was just spotting, got to sit on the pole of the 100th running with James Hinchcliffe. And I think we ran 6th that year. But I was also, I've been there for the lows too. I was spotting for him the day that James got hurt. So, it's just a very unforgiving place, but a very rewarding place at the same time. And yeah, it's just a really cool atmosphere the whole month, really. You start, I think they're practicing out there this week. So you're going to start to feel just the intensity pick up around the town of Speedway. And, it's just, it's an awesome event. And I think I got to do 7 or 8 of them. And I think our best run was 6th or so, but, I've got some spotting buddies that have won the 500 here the last couple of years. So it's cool to still have those friends and, get to congratulate them. And now we have Kyle racing. So you have a whole nother, interest for myself at least to tune in and, cheer on a guy like him who is grassroots racing and, going for, a shot at, glory. And it's just awesome to be a part of it. And, I wish I could still do it, but, we kind of have a big race ourselves on the same day.
Speaking of the Indy 500, obviously High Limit last year went to Kokomo, and there was some Indy 500 tie-ins there. You were able to win that race over there at Cooko Speedway during the Midweek Money Series event. Coming up here in just a few weeks, we're going to be going back to Kokomo, expecting a pretty good field of cars, a huge crowd. They've got some new grandstands and stuff like that I've heard over there at Kooko Speedway. So is that the track when we get back racing? Because we know how busy May is. Is that one of the tracks, or maybe the track, that you're looking forward to getting back to the most from last year?
Yeah, I love Kokomo. Obviously you used to get to race there a lot with USAC, and even when we weren't, if we didn't have a USAC race that weekend and they were racing on Sunday, we'd go to Kokomo and race. So used to get to race there, 10 times a year, and now only get to do it once. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And really it's the, closest race to, I guess I live in Newton now, but for my hometown, it's, closest home race for me, and, get to see a lot of family and friends that, that are involved with Closter Marshall Racing. And, it's just a awesome place. And they just redone the whole place with, new grandstands on the front stretch and a new building back behind it. And yeah, so I'm excited to get back there and hopefully try and win again. And, I'm just excited for it to get busy again. The last couple weeks, just kind of sitting around, not doing a whole lot. We don't normally go to Peelu, so we skipped that. And then, only getting one race in this past weekend kind of sucks. And then I think we're only racing once this weekend too.
You talk about you used to be able to go to Kokomo and race when you were on the USAC tours, whether it was midgets, non-wing, Silver Crown. You raced there a lot. I want to ask you, Tyler, and it was a focus of like the second to last episode, I think, of Dirt Season 2 when they followed Chris Windham around. And you've had a very successful transition from growing up racing non-wing open wheel dirt race cars. Again, USAC midgets, USAC non-wing, USAC Silver Crown. And you've been able to come over to wing racing and have a really good run here. Whereas that episode kind of focused on the fact a really good friend of yours, Chris Windham, hasn't been able to enjoy that same success. What I really want to know from a driver's perspective, I'm sure there's dozens, if not hundreds of things that are difficult between a non-wing and a wing car. What's just one thing that you think is so different, so difficult, something you have to be able to transition from a non-wing car to a wing car to be good? What's one of those really big hurdles that people may not expect?
I think just the pure racing side of it, just a lot more intense pace, and air, really, like, in non-wing cars, you don't have, the air to really worry about. So learning how to maneuver, through traffic and around cars with a big wing on top is something you got to get really used to, and knowing what you can and can't do in those situations is tough. And honestly, I think a lot of it comes down to having a good race car too. And, I've been very fortunate enough to have a great relationship with my crew chief, Jake. And, we've had a good understanding of each other throughout the start of this. And we keep building on that too, to make my transition easier too. So I think a lot of that goes into it, but yeah, I think just really I know racing is a broad term, but the whole just actual racing a wing car versus a non-wing car and adjusting to that, especially for a guy like Chris who did even more time non-wing racing than I did. So it was a whole new jump once you get over here. Like, yeah, driving it by itself, a wing car is honestly probably easier than a non-wing car, but racing and being fast at the same time and knowing what to do and what not to do is a whole different story.
Tony mentioned Dirt 2 right there in his question. I'm pretty sure you've been involved in both seasons of Dirt. You were involved in the first one there with T-Mez and Grant, and obviously Kyle was involved in that one. And then last year, a little bit of a different style, I guess you would say, because it followed you guys throughout a lot of races throughout the season. What was it like being involved? Because you were one of the featured drivers there for one of the episodes. So what was that like for, having a camera crew following you around and doing all that stuff?
It's honestly really fun. It's cool to be a part of those things because it not only helps build, build up, the brand for our series, but a brand for myself too. So being able to, show a different side of what we do night in and night out to the fans is really cool. I still have people to this day that come up and talk about the first series of Dirt. And then, I know it's just going to transition into the second season too. So it's been cool to be a part of that. Yeah. The camera crew, you don't really notice. They're honestly really good when we're at the racetrack. They know the boundaries, and they jump in and try to get as much, emotion and things like that as you can. And for us, not a lot of us hide our emotions, especially at the racetrack. So I think we probably make their jobs pretty easy when it comes to that. And but yeah, it's awesome that we get to be a part of that, and hopefully get to keep being a part of it moving forward. And try and take sprint car racing and turn it into something that it deserves to be. It deserves to be one of the most known form of motorsports that you can have.
Okay, so you talk about the camera crew not really being visible, them doing a good job blending in, but I know for a fact that you had to give those camera crews and the production team an absolute headache, Tyler, during the filming of that, because whether it's Tyler Burnett, who is on this recording in the background, lurking in the shadows, or Sean from Cali Dirt Videos, who handled the GoPro placement for all of Dirt Season 2, you, still to this day, I believe, refuse to let a GoPro be affixed to your race car. Why, I want to know, do you hate production companies like Flo, and why don't you want them to have quality, amazing footage of you out on track doing what only you can? Answer that, please.
Hey, to be fair, I let them put it on for 2 nights at Eldora for the first Dirt series. I let them put them on for the nights that didn't pay $100,000 or $175,000. And I told them if they wanted to have them on the car for those 2 nights, it would only cost $100,000 and $175,000. So
wow, reasonable.
And just, I don't know, it's just a matter of fact that it happened. But both nights that I didn't have GoPros on, we ran good. The nights that we had GoPros on, we ran bad. So it's just a superstition thing to me. I know it has absolutely nothing to do with how we do that night. But for me, as a mental case driver, as we all are, if you can control something like not putting a GoPro on to make yourself feel better, then that's why I do it. And yeah, no, it sucks. I would love to have in-car videos of myself and be able to go back and watch them and things like that. But it's worked for me to this point, and so I'm probably not going to change it anytime soon.
Wow.
Well, Tyler, it's been a while since we last raced with High Limit. Arizona feels like it was a long time ago, which it kind of was at this point. But we get back racing next week on Wednesday at Texarkana for the first race of the Roto-Rooter Midweek Series. You mentioned you ran Knoxville on Saturday. I think that's the only race you guys have ran since we stopped with High Limit. But you mentioned a moment ago that you were planning on racing once this weekend. I'm going to take a flyer here. Is it going to be at Knoxville, or is it going to be at your favorite place, Hobstadt?
It's going to be at Hobstadt.
Okay.
We especially with our team being based in Fishers there, it's only, a 2.5 hour drive down to Hobstadt. And, we've had some success there in the past, and, we haven't won an Outlaw show there yet, so we'd like to go there and try and do that. And we feel like we've been close in the past, so see what we can do. And I feel like we've run really good there, and we'll see what we can do. We talked about going to Knoxville or maybe even Fort Royal. I think Fort Royal's got a bigger race this weekend, but being 2.5 hours away, it's pretty hard to pass up just driving down the road to Evansville and going from there.
And you should be able to use all the notes from Hobstadt at Texarkana.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I just hope we get to race Texarkana. I feel like every time we even talk about racing there, it's already rained out. So yeah, hopefully luck's on, the Crawley side and everyone there at Texarkana Speedway that we can, finally get a race in there. I've watched a lot of videos there, and I've seen all the improvements they've done over the last couple of years as they've been involved there. So yeah, just excited to, hopefully get to race there finally.
Now, you mentioned, it's important to point out, the team, Clausen Marshall Racing, is based in Fishers, which that's good for your crew chief, Jake Argo. So when the Turnpike Troubadours come to the new Fishers Event Center, he's first in line to get in the door. I saw him there. He was rocking out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You no longer are based in Indianapolis, the Fishers area. You relocated. You mentioned it a little while ago quickly, but you live in Newton, Iowa now. So what is life like going from the booming metropolis of Indianapolis, Indiana, to the even more boominger metropolis of Newton, Iowa? How is it out in the country? Because talking to you right now, it's like you're doing this call through a potato, but what's life in Iowa like? How's it treating you out there?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's been a change of pace. I grew up in, the northeast side of Indianapolis, like Fishers area. So definitely a like you said, a booming metropolis of, people and just things to do and all that. But honestly, it's been an awesome change of pace to move out here. And, this is the first house that I've, owned. And so to have a place to call my own and, kind of be out here by ourselves, but we're only, we're 5 minutes from town. So if you need to go do something or need to, go to the grocery store or things like that, it's not a far drive. And, this weekend, the mile long bridge is out, but so it normally takes us about 30 minutes to get to Knoxville from here. But, with the bridge being out, it's about a 15 minute detour. So only, 40 minutes, down the road to Knoxville was great this weekend. But yeah, it's been, honestly, I love it. I wasn't sure what I would think about it, living out in the country versus, living in the city my whole life. But, it's been an awesome change of pace for me in Asia. And, like really at the end of the day, just nice to have a place to call our own.
Well, if you, decide to build a baseball field in the cornfields out there, call me. Okay.
Yeah. You build it, they will come, right?
Oh, there we go.
Tyler, last year I got in a lot of trouble at the banquet when I mentioned that Zeb Wise had Dog of the Year. A lot of people did not enjoy that comment, even though it was mostly a joke. But
I'm going to say that Penelope and Wiener here did not enjoy that comment.
I was going to say, you got a new dog, like a newish dog, right? You got the Wiener dog, but then you got Sharky, right? I believe is the name of
Sharky. Come here.
Do you think Sharky's in the running for Dog of the Year in 2025 with High Limit? There. Look at that.
Yeah. No, I think she's in the running for sure. She's the prettiest. I can tell you that. So, but then we got Wiener. Here, let me grab Wiener.
There's a lot of competition though. People don't realize.
Oh boy, Tyler Courtney's going for his Wiener.
Yeah. So we got two in the running, but yeah, we got a new one this year with Chase Randall's dog. Then I think Brent Marks has a golden as well. And yeah, obviously we have Gus. Gus is, he's probably the fan favorite, I would say. He's got t-shirts and everything.
It's true.
That's who was, I think, the most offended because Gus was actually inside the banquet hall last fall. And, he had a lot to say about Chase unofficially just handing out Dog of the Year title. That is not something that we do at High Limit, but, Chase took it upon himself. So maybe you will see that at the end of the banquet this year, a Dog of the Year, Dog of the Year title. I guess kind of just to that breath, Tyler, this lifestyle that we all live, chasing races and going around the country is definitely a fun one, but it's certainly not an easy one. And I think I saw Asia posted a photo of you guys pulling the t-shirt trailer when you got back home to Newton after everything got snowed out, when we left Vado early and headed home. Just something about the lifestyle of going around the country and pulling trailers and chasing race cars in one town tonight, gone another. What's something about this lifestyle that you think people back home might not understand or maybe they think is glamorous, but it's really not?
Yeah, I would say that just the pure driving, we did over 30,000 miles, alone last year driving. So that's a lot of road time. And so, that aspect, people think that we're just, popping up to these racetracks, but sometimes it took us, 24 hours to get home from Phoenix to here. So that's a lot of time on the road and you miss out on a lot of things with family and luckily we got to be home for Easter, but there's a lot of holidays that, we miss out on birthdays and weddings and, all those things that, no more people get to do. So, but yeah, it's hard to complain about it because we are getting to live a life that, a lot of people do wish they got to live. So, we're very fortunate on that end of it, but yeah, it's, not as glamorous as it seems all the time. And you get to think about that when you're driving, 10 hours down the road to the next racetrack or 5 hours or 20 hours or, or what have you. And, but it's a life that, that we chose and we love doing it. And, we're very fortunate to get to do it for a living, and hopefully get to do it for many more years.
Well, Tyler, we appreciate you coming. It sounds like something you might have the mailman at the front door. It sounds.
Yeah.
I don't know what
No, she wants to play. She's tired of me being on the phone.
Well, we will get you off the phone, Tyler. We appreciate you coming on the High Limit Room, and we'll see you in about 9 days down at Texarkana. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And yeah, see you at Texarkana.
All right, we'll see you guys next week here on the High Limit Room.